Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans fell to Jacksonville on Sunday, 20-13, dropping a fifth straight game and moving to 3-13 on the year, getting swept by the Jaguars in the process. Heading into the regular season finale at home against Houston, Brian Callahan met with the media just a few minutes ago and laid out his plan at quarterback on Sunday.
I'm actually going to probably play both of them, to be honest. Let those guys both have a chance to play. Don't know what and where that looks like. We're still really early in it, but I think both guys will have some opportunities. I'll let you know by the end of the week, starter, all that stuff. But I think both guys should play some football at the end of the year.
Coming up this afternoon, the TransPerfect Music City Bowl kicks off at 1:30. Missouri and Iowa face off at Nissan Stadium. And Week 17 in the NFL wraps up tonight. Lions at 49ers on Monday Night Football. Kickoff is at 7:15. Westwood One coverage on The Zone begins at 7. The Nashville Predators are on the road tonight at the Winnipeg Jets. Puck drop set for 6:30. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Season Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Blaine, that was, it was a lifeless performance yesterday. I'm not saying that people weren't out there playing hard or anything, but it just looked like there was no energy. It looks like they need to tell the Low T Center that Blaine sent them yesterday because it was bad, Blaine. I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, they're playing. It's not like what you saw from the Colts defense, which I don't know if you saw the Colts defense, but they clearly quit on the team. But this was just a team that looked like it had no answers for anything, and it just looked like it was lacking any kind of spark in this, penultimate game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. What did you think about the performance yesterday?
I probably would term it like there's no sense of urgency. It's funny because I feel like that's how they've been a lot of the games, especially here down the stretch. When I say there's no sense of urgency, reason why every time they get behind.
Yes, no sense of urgency.
Yeah, every time they get behind, all of a sudden then miraculously, especially offense where you can really see it, they find a way to just fight their way back. I don't care how many points is down or what. And then all of a sudden, and that's when they're kind of throwing the ball a little bit more than actually running the ball. I don't know if that's just coincidental. So that's kind of what I would say. And then to your point, flat, no fire. But I thought it was on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
The weather and everything else. But at the same time,
it didn't really seem like either team wanted to win that game.
Right, yeah. It kind of reminded me of the first matchup, and which was a low-scoring game. What was the final score of that game?
10-6.
10-6, right, because that's when Levis missed the throw on a wide-open guy, right?
Right.
What is the Jacksonville Jaguars defense ranked?
They were ranked, I think, heading into that 32nd. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they probably moved up to 28th.
Oh, okay, great.
Maybe,
how many points have we put up?
Yeah,
both games.
Yeah, well, 6 and not enough, pretty much.
Yeah, but I think it's 19 points total through 2 games.
Yeah,
but hence we're going to be talking about the defense though, who couldn't still get the critical stops. But they held them, to 20 points. So I think there's a lot of holes here. I think people are trying to be diplomatic and pointing fingers throughout this whole process, which is really unfortunate. Now we hear head coach Callahan talk about, he's going to now rotate the quarterbacks. And it made me say, man, is this preseason? Oh, my gosh. What the Sam? You know what is going on.
I'm not going to say that they're tanking, but that seems like a really weird move, right? I mean, that seems like a move that is guaranteed to blow up in your face. And maybe that's the point? I don't know, but it's weird.
I don't think that is a form of tanking. If from his benefit, he should have exactly what I said he should have done, was stuck with Will Levis, because now the offense didn't do too much of anything different than with Mason Rudolph or Will Levis.
All you did was prove that the quarterback choices you made from top to bottom in, not bringing in a competent backup, letting Malik Willis go, thinking Mason Rudolph can win you some games when he probably couldn't. It's just all you proved is that none of your quarterbacks are good.
And then
maybe that's the point.
Maybe all these reports, that everybody's back and they improved in all these categories. Well, the only category that really matters is the win-loss category. All that other crap is for the birds. Nobody really cares. Yeah, they improved. Well, guess what? So half of those games are getting blown out, and so then you can move the ball downfield and they're playing against the clock. I mean, come on, man. It's really baffling and really discouraging from my point of view, seeing how, you're trying to control what is presented out there. It's really disappointing. But, that's life, and that goes on in all the industry, trying to control the narrative so that you have a shot, whether it's good or bad, to come back. At the end of the day, they're going to have to make a tough decision. I think all bets are off, and I think everybody is on the hot seat, including players, not just upper management, including the players. This move right here showed everything I needed to know. I don't know if you really know what you're doing. It is baffling. And then he didn't have answers. Remember he said when he made the Mason Rudolph decision, he gives us a better shot of winning.
Right.
And then now you're going back on what you said. See, so
that makes me feel like he wants to lose this game.
Oh, no. That doesn't make that.
I'm just saying that's what it kind of feels like. I wonder how long that injury list is going to be by the end of the week.
I don't think so. I think he sounded so somber compared to his other pressers. He sounded defeated. So I think somebody said, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because this makes no sense. Everybody in the media, I'm included, heard, we're going to Mason Rudolph and we're not going back. Oh, yeah, you included, right?
Well, no, we said, what did we say on this show? That he left the door open.
Well, yeah, he did, but everybody behind the scenes is what I'm talking about. They knew that he wasn't, Will Levis was done. Yeah. He was done with him. Those words were used by everybody here, because not by me, because I don't get the whispers and all that. I don't get into conjecture and rumor mill and what somebody says. I go by actions. Actions tell you everything. And right now, watch this. Will Levis would have made that throw at the end of the game. He would have made that throw, because guess what? We've seen him. That ball didn't have the velocity that it needed to on that play. Now,
that's true. That thing looked like a lame duck. Looked like Ryan Tannehill in that Saints game.
A bad pass earlier in the game? Maybe so. Yeah. Maybe so. But guess what? I saw Mason Rudolph miss some of his throws, miss some of his reads, and make some mistakes.
He did miss some of those reads.
And I'm just saying, I don't get it. Like, the offense is what it is. I think more and more I watch it, I go, he's a guy that he has to run his system. And if you don't run the system the right way, then it's not going to be productive. And so that's what I see. They were able to run the football. They only had like 6-7 possessions. I don't know how many. It wasn't very many. And I'm going to have to go back and watch it. I'm getting so drained on watching them offensively and defensively. So they just can't make plays. They are not a good team. Obviously, they need more talent. But the question is now, if you get the number 2 pick, are you going to let this staff and administration up top make the decision? Because if it doesn't work and you start off 2-4, which is what I asked you last week, what do you do then? And then you fire people. Then the new people come in and be like, I don't want this guy. So then you start the whole cycle all over again. And then you'll be somewhat like the Bears in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's to me, if you're going to let them pick the quarterback, you have to extend their leash. But we all know that in the NFL, that's not how it works, right? There is no real leash extension without visible, tangible signs of improvement in the win-loss column and the product you're fielding on the field. Because I'm kind of with you. I mean, like we kind of went through it. You could point at these stats that say that they have improved in certain areas, but the improvement is not big enough, and it's not quick enough, and it's not consistent enough. So if you're going to let them choose the next quarterback and you're going to keep them, because we'll know by maybe this time next week or this time next Tuesday whether or not they're still around and going to be making these decisions. And once we know that, then the decision becomes how much patience is Amy Adams Strunk really going to give them? Because if you remember, Chad Brinker said this would take 2 to 3 years. Well, are they actually going to get 2 to 3 years to develop a quarterback?
They also said it's going to be competitive.
Yeah. And so I mean, that's the thing, is that they weren't competitive this year. And if you're going to do it, you have to let them, if you're going to let them draft a quarterback, you have to let them develop it, or you're doing what you're saying and you're getting into this cycle of dysfunction, which is real easy for a franchise to get into. And it's real hard for a franchise to pull out of. So it's not like that is what you got to do. And that may still be the wrong move, right? It may still end up being that, hey, they didn't draft the right quarterback and we wasted 2 or 3 years with this quarterback and all that. Or it could turn into something good. You don't know. We don't know. But right now, they're in a real pivotal moment with how they handle this whole situation. Because if you know, Blaine, it may be very uncommon that a GM and a head coach get hired at the same time, get fired at the same time, get hired at the same time. You start kind of thinking back on it. How many times has that actually happened? And it may be fewer than what we think. But for this particular franchise, Mike Herndon went back and looked at it, and he said they have never done it in the last 45 years. And the data before that's probably not really available. Hired a GM and a head coach at the same time. So let's say you fire Rand Carthon. What happens then? Like, are you going to bring in another do you really trust Brian Callahan that much? I'm a big proponent of letting them stay, but I'm also a big proponent that if you fire one, you should fire both and just start all over. And that's really probably the best thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, for all those, I'm not trying to take up for Levis by any means.
Right.
I see here on the chat, but that's not what I meant. It's based off what I said weeks before he benched Will Levis, is that if it doesn't work with Mason Rudolph, once you made this decision, now the finger points at you, head coach. And now he's trying to go back to Will Levis. Now it shows you it wasn't really him. The same things were still happening. So he's not out there playing, but something about this team is when they play in these games, the offense looks the exact same. And he already had a sample size of it before with 3.5 games. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not an advocate for getting anybody fired, but I will say people who are on the hot seat. And I tell you one thing, man, this is a purgatory for the whole organization to get to this. And man, they're in a tough bind here. And regardless of what people want to say about Amy, sometimes you could talk about when they got rid of JR to the Vrabel to Malarkey, even from the beginning, going to the second round of playoffs and getting fired because that wasn't the GM's guy and he wouldn't fire his OC and all those things. So with everything being said, if you're going to make a clean sweep and you got to admit your mistakes, you got to do it and do it full clean house, or you stick with it one more year. And then that's why I'm getting to, because I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what I would do in this situation. But then what happens if you start off slow? Then now you're
because whoever's coming in and is inheriting a bad situation. Let's talk about that hypothetical when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. And we've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations, repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. Or you could just visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But I always tell them blame, didn't you?
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. And Blaine, we were talking about, the hypothetical of someone getting fired. And I know that there's been a couple of rumors pop up that, people are, Rand Carthon's likely on hot seat. And to be honest, let's not really call it a rumor. All these guys, like you said, are on the hot seat. You just can't have a season like you have and not everybody be on some form of temperature on the oven being up on your butt. It's just how it is, right? But here's the thing, and this is what's kind of why I'm really team stability. But if you fire one, you fire all. That's why it's, to me, you keep both of them or you fire both. I don't think there should be any in between. Here's why. The guy you're firing, if you fire Rand Carthon, is the guy that wanted Callahan and also hired Brinker. So what are you going to do? You fire Carthon, then promote Brinker? Well, that's the guy that Carthon hired Brinker.
And who was part of the Levis?
Right. They all were. So, my thing is that rumors are now that everybody was kind of involved in that. But my point is that you're going to fire Rand Carthon, but keep the two guys that he pretty much had a hand in hiring almost single-handedly. And not forget, if you are a person that is going to bash the Snead pick as a Rand Carthon bad move, right? If that's a blemish on his resume, well, they came out and said, point blank, Chad Brinker, we leaned on his relationship with Kansas City and his information gathering with Kansas City to get that deal done and finalized, to feel comfortable making that move. So Chad Brinker was involved in that move that everybody may seem like is a crap move. So what good does that solve? And then on the flip side, if you fire Callahan, again, Rand Carthon helped pick him. So shouldn't you fire the guy that helped pick, that was pretty much single-handedly the reason he got hired?
I don't know if it's that clear. And I'm going to give you an example.
Well, that's fine.
I get your premise, and it's hard to disagree with that. But all I'm going to do is look at a team right up in their division. The AFC South. Did that GM ever lose his job when he went through 3 coaches?
No. Because I want to say that he wasn't the guy with Culley, but I could be wrong on that.
Oh, I think so. We can look that up in the break. But I think so. It doesn't have to be attachment to your guy. I'm not so sure that means that. I think what's sure is who is responsible for who. And we don't know who's responsible for the drafting, players, signing the players. We know to a certain extent, but how much was pushed even by certain people. Now, naturally, it goes under Rand's notch because it was under his time. So, that's what I would love to know inside of there. So to say that just because you had a bad hire as a head coach or a GM, one or the other, they don't have to be attached. Now, how much were you involved and this was your guy? Yeah, you probably were 80% all in on that. Now, you can make mistakes. Now, here's why I say you can make mistakes. Coaching is one thing, but just think about anybody who works in the business world or any industry, and people can dupe you in an interview because they talk good and they tell you their attachment to certain people and why they say that coaching thing is a real finicky deal. Just think how much that happens in the real world. So sometimes you got to say, hey, I got to cut my losses. I made a bad hire, and whether it's the coach, the GM, or the owner. Sometimes it just happens that way. It's not going to always be perfect. No different than the quarterback didn't play up to snuff. He didn't improve. He didn't get better. He still showed who he was a turnover magnet. So we got to see that. That was this whole season. So now what do you do that it is not him going to be your quarterback, at least with this staff, if you keep them? So I think it's man, we're in purgatory, and I don't even know the answers to this point because it should have never gotten to this. Those decisions should have been done. Drafting a quarterback, I should have drafted a quarterback when we had Tannehill. I'm talking about, 2 years before his deal up because you would have had foresight that you weren't going to sign him with him 2 years left on his deal. So just like the Falcons, everybody was laughing at the Falcons, except I wasn't. I'm sure other people weren't. I said this was a great deal to sign Penix, even though you got Cousins, because Cousins is old. And I said, you just don't know. He's coming off an Achilles injury. And by the way, this year's draft, you wouldn't have been a top 2 pick if those are the only 2 guys out there. So people have to have foresight and not look at the just now. You have to look 2 or 3 years down the window, like any other organization or company or business. And I think that's why we're sitting where we're sitting, because some things didn't work out and then you hedged your bet and you lost. That's it. It's the end of the day. So now you have to figure out how to pick up the crumbling pieces as you move along. But it all has to be done before you're into that freaking stadium. That is what has to happen.
Yeah. Like, to me, and Steve just brings this up right here, and this is another part of this whole firing process, is that, so what is the GM name out there you would replace Randon?
I have no idea. I'm not in the business of hiring. Not me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what I'm saying is that he's 100% correct,
right?
Is that the Tennessee Titans seem to be in this habit lately, is that, well, we got to stick with someone because there's no better options.
But?
Like, I mean, it just seems like they always are on the wrong time. Like, really, there's no better options that are going to come in and save this clear option. Because even if Ben Johnson comes into this franchise as the head coach, he's still going to struggle that first year. And there's no clear path to success at quarterback with Ben Johnson that is also not there for Brian Callahan, right? Because until you have a quarterback, your success isn't going to be there. You look at GMs. I mean, maybe GM is a little bit easier to find because there's such a wide array of pool of assistant GMs, former GMs, bigger pool to pull from. But again, you're having to rely on luck. And are you expecting them to come in and flip over? You got 28 free agents, right? Are you going to expect him to flip over the roster overnight? Either way, no matter what path you choose, unless everything hits, right? Unless your new head coach hits, your new GM hits, your new quarterback hits, you're not.
Excuse you.
There's no path to success in year one, instant success. It would have to be extreme luck for that to happen.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's some luck involved. Just like I used to call it, the football guys, even on the field, get the turnovers. I mean, we are leading the league in turnovers. I mean, it is just sickening for me to watch over and over again. And then for the defense never to come up with a critical stop. Here's one that stands out to me in a play. Just watching a game, we got them to 2nd and 23, and they were backed up. And they throw a little flare route to ETN, and I go, who has him? I don't even know what covers they're doing. Woozy stuck with this guy on a little hitch. And then I don't know if they're supposed to play in and out, were they playing cover 2? I have no idea with the linebacker, but the linebacker, I'm sure didn't want to be guarding over his wide receiver. So, he gets 25 yards on a 2nd and 23 after we had him backed up and they got a penalty. I'm going, oh my, this is exactly, we're supposed to bury them, keep them backed up, and then they punt out and we get the ball in good field position. So it's just that it's talent, guys being inconsistent on the field, and then sometimes the play calling on both sides of the ball. You know what's been most consistent here at the end of the season? The freaking special teams.
Best unit for the last few weeks.
Which is, and they're still probably somewhere at the bottom of the barrel because they started so deep. So, but they did improve. So I got to give them credit for that. And they brought in some better players who were special team, demons. And they got some other players back that were injured earlier in the season. So, hey, man, it just seems like it just never ended. So when that starts happening, it's somewhere I'd love to be sitting in those rooms where they're saying, what are the reasonings behind it? I think, to me, Callahan act like he didn't have any more excuse. He couldn't keep saying the same thing over and over again.
I think he was tired of being a broken record.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to hook him up to a lie detector test.
Oh, my God.
Now, whether this is what I'm about to say is, now whether this is the right way to view it or not is up to discussion. But I would say if you hooked him up to a lie detector test, he would say players are the problem, not the staff. And I think at this point in the season, he's having to give vague answers because he doesn't want to throw the players under the bus anymore. Like, I mean, I really do think that he himself or this staff thinks, man, we're having to start Jerome Baker, Luke Gifford, Darryl Worley, Mike Brown. We have no quarterback. Both of our starting running backs went down. We have no right tackle, and we can't do anything with it. Now, whether that's the right way a coach should look at it or not, is an entirely different discussion. All I'm saying is that that's what I think they think. And I think that we are seeing this press conference where he may not have any other answers, that doesn't throw the players under the bus, and you can't be an NFL head coach that wants to throw the players under the bus in a presser. Right. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Unless you're, I guess, your boy up in New England, Gerard Mayo, who called everybody soft, in that one press conference.
Don't do that. But with all that being said, I could agree with most of that. But then I'll say, before the season started, where are you responsible? I'm always going to go back to the coach. And guess what? You made the decision not to get a right tackle. I think everybody in the media here who even covers the Titans in any form said they needed a right tackle. The NPF, everybody. People, it's just like, well, y'all decided to make that decision with the best O-line coach in the world.
The staff made that decision.
Because here's one who's that go to?
Well, it goes on Rand Carthon's resume, right?
Resume, and you got the O-line coach. He co-signed on it, and the head coach.
But listen, because if you go back, everybody, because I know that Gentry Estes wrote another piece asking for someone to get fired and all that kind of stuff.
He did?
Yeah. But he brings up the checks all the boxes comment from Rand Carthon in the preseason. Now, I just want to say, this is what Rand Carthon actually said. If you listen to the whole clip, and I went back and listened to it because I was like, I need to go back and listen to it. I hadn't heard it in a while. Because initially, you hear all you're focused on is checks all the right boxes, right? We checked all the boxes this offseason, right? Everything we wanted, checked all them. He says, everything the offensive staff told me that they wanted, the list that the offensive staff gave me that they wanted, we checked all the boxes.
The offensive staff?
Yes.
Who's in charge of the offensive staff?
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. This is a real...
Tell me who was in charge of the offensive staff.
Brian Callahan. So I'm just saying, Bill Callahan. I'm just saying that is also still a ding on Rand Carthon for not stepping in. Hey, I'm GM. See your list. You need to add right tackle on here. Right? Like, he's got to take... While I do think that the offensive staff... is to blame for the checklist, does not mean he can't go and take his own marker and add some stuff to the checklist as well. And tell them that, hey, I have been around this team for a little bit over a year, and I can tell you that you guys don't have a right tackle on this list, and you need to find one.
There you have it. And Dan Hintz is a GM and a leader. Right there.
Right. So then it goes like they're in a bad spot. There's no doubt about it. And because any decision that they make is high risk. Firing Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan all at the same time, big risk. Because there's no guarantee the next guys are better. And don't say it can't get worse, because it can always get worse.
Because Dillard, I thought it could have oh my God.
And then we move to and if we keep them all, it's still a high risk because they are essentially a staff on the hot seat from our point of view, picking a quarterback, and that's a bad situation, right? That's not a great... Sometimes it works, but oftentimes it's a bad situation. That's why the best path for success, if you're going to keep them, is Derek Carr, or let me just say a bridge quarterback. Because people don't like Derek Carr. They don't like to hear,
because he is still under contract with another team. Right. But a veteran quarterback.
A veteran quarterback that you feel you could be competitive and win games with and keep your job while allowing you to develop the young quarterback. Because if you're asking a quarterback to step in, I don't care what they do in free agency and what they do in the rest of the draft outside of the first round. It's going to be real difficult to keep your job, develop a quarterback, and have success. With a rookie quarterback. It's just going to be that.
So you take a Shador with the two?
Yes,
if you've got two?
No doubt.
And develop, okay.
Yeah.
Now, aren't there reports that he didn't want to come to the Titans?
No. Well, those reports are unfounded because, he's fine with coming to the Titans.
Okay. So, I remember Deion caught himself and said no about the Titans, but then I'm hearing other things on the other side of that.
Yeah, Deion actually came out today and said, you'll hear it from me. You won't hear it from any of these other mouthpieces out there.
Right.
So he kind of cut that off right there. But I wouldn't see any reason why he wouldn't want him to come here.
Right. I don't understand.
So but at the end of the day, I do think that whoever is the quarterback, if there is a rookie quarterback that is drafted, they have to be allotted the time to sit on the bench. But you as a team have to be competitive. So and it cannot be Mason Rudolph. You cannot bring Mason Rudolph back on this roster, and you can't have Will Levis be the bridge quarterback on this roster with the rookie quarterback either. You have to have an entirely new quarterback room, and it needs to work and not be like this quarterback room of 2024 when it didn't work clearly. And so that's the only path forward to a couple different things. Success, developing a young quarterback. It's works more often than not if you let them be able to sit for a year. They, adjust to the speed of the game, how to be a pro, what's expected of them. And it buys you time to get that developed while he's still on a rookie contract. Because you draft him in the first round, you have essentially 5 years to develop him. But if you start switching out offensive coordinators and schemes and all this stuff, you're just creating a recipe for disaster. Because let me say this, if you fire Brian Callahan, hypothetically, and you put in a defensive-minded head coach, because usually you switch from what you were the previous year. Well, then you're going to have an offensive coordinator. And then you know what happens to offensive coordinators and defensive head coaches? They rotate constantly. And then you're got a quarterback that's in constantly trying to get new offensive coordinators and new schemes. It's just a recipe for it. It's a high-risk move no matter how you slice it. If you fire one of them, it's still a high-risk move. If you fire both, if you keep both, doesn't matter. It's high risk no matter what. They're in a terrible situation at the worst time, to be honest with you.
You also have to continue to build around the young quarterback, too. So you use this year with the bridge guy, whoever that veteran quarterback is. I like your idea. And build around them. And then, hence, if the young quarterback gets in some parts of the season, then you can see where you're going with your offense and having more weapons around him after another offseason. And then you have at least a shot of not ruining him. Now, to your point on hiring a coach, then usually the next year go back and forth and, go for the defensive-minded coach. And I don't know, that seems like that's the history of the National Football League, though, to be honest, not just the Titans. But here's what I will say. Jaden Daniels is doing okay. Here's what happens is you hire the most qualified coach. Then you put someone at the OC making sure when they hire him that you keep the offense. Here's how you keep the offense the same. You make sure you're developing the future OC under the OC. And so that way, hopefully, you'll have a shot of, even if it's transitioning, the OC leaves, that you got two or someone from that tree to come in, if they're available, to move up and continue the same, offense, which is somewhat luck. But at the same time, that's what you're trying to do, is grow your staff for the next one lead. Because if you have success, you have to know that guys are going to start picking from your tree. And your tree is your staff. Good example is, you just brought up Deion and Shador. Deion Sanders, Colorado staff, they lost 2 staff members, one to Mississippi State. I can't remember where the other one was going. The O-line coach was going to Mississippi State. So once you have success, you already have to be grooming the person behind them. So to me, that's where you go if you make that kind of decision. I don't think they're going to make that decision. I think Callahan's back, but hearing all the narratives about he will be back and the majority of his things, that means the media is getting these rumor mills from that side of the equation.
The people that benefit from having that out there, that they're keeping their job.
And so that's when I'm like, they're getting nervous.
Yeah.
It's no different than we keep hearing Vrabel's up for these different jobs. That means nobody's really talking to you.
I mean, it was funny because when Ryan Day was rumored to get fired, we didn't hear much from Vrabel in the NFL. Yeah. And then Ryan Day wins his playoff game, and then we hear Rossini start cranking it back up that, Vrabel almost got the Chargers job. Well, who told you that, Vrabel? I mean, come on. What are we doing here? You can't fool us. So, I know what's going on.
The people who are not paying attention out in the business, you just hear whatever is said, and I get it. But, this is, I just really feel like Callahan played his cards wrong on this one with the quarterback. I do. I'm not Levis is the guy type guy, but you continued with him until you could say, nope, I'm going to start him I'm not going to start him this last game. He did the opposite of what I would have done.
Yeah.
I would have waited his home game. Everybody would have said, he finally benched Will Levis. And then he started him this last game for the last Oiler-Texans game. Yeah. the Tennessee Titans Oiler uniform game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that it was already predestined that they were going to do this uniform in this game because it's probably the you really want to do it this game. But hey, maybe some fans or even maybe some players maybe get excited about wearing the unis. They may grow up watching them. I don't know, but man, somehow, some way, maybe you bring some form of excitement to this game because the Titans are favored by 4. I couldn't believe that when I saw that. Is that because the Texans are going to play their backups?
Well, that's what they think, but I'll tell you what D'Amico Ryans said about that today.
Oh.
So when we come back, we'll talk about what D'Amico Ryans had to say about the Texans, but we also want to hear from you. Are you team stability, team clean house, or team just fire one? 615-737-1045. If you want to get on the conversation, it's Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We're asking you, do you want a clean house, stability, or do you just want to fire one of the people? So we want to hear from you on that, 615-737-1045. The F&M Bank chat on YouTube is always hopping. And, of course, they've already devolved into arguing between Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward for the 100th time. I don't know how many times we've done this show, Blaine, together, but every time it usually devolves into arguing between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders.
Hey, you've been scouting them. I haven't scouted them yet. I really don't know yet. I'm going to wait till the season's up, but, man, those are that's two options. I've watched a couple of those games. I don't know.
Let's go to your phones. We got a few phone lines open, 615-737-1045. Kale in Nashville wants to talk. He's a 25-year season ticket holder. Kale, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up, Blaine?
You got it?
The hit man in the house. So what I'm upset with, Blaine, I was there for the Music City Miracle, man. I was there for all of it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We built a program. It took a few years to build the Titans from the Oilers to the Titans. You were a part of that building, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love Brian Callahan because Brian Callahan doesn't get upset. He's a learning new head coach. Will Levis is a freak of a talent, of an issue. Why don't we just say, Will, would you be willing to be backup quarterback for us a year? We're going to hire a veteran to come in. Wouldn't we want to do the right thing instead of doing the same thing we've been doing every time that ruins our franchise? That's my take. Why don't we give it some time, man? Like we don't have to, I think Rand is awesome. I think Brian Callahan is awesome. I think he says all the right stuff. I think that Will has been coached to say all the right stuff. Will doesn't get upset. Yeah, he throws a lot of interceptions. Yeah, but so does Rudolph. He does. This program is broke. Let's give it some time to fix it. And let's all just be patient as the media, as the fan base and everything. We're building a new stadium. Let's just let it have time to be fixed because I really think that we have the right coach. I think we have the right GM. I think that Will, about another year and a half, I know you say we don't have time to fix it. We don't got to win now, but if we don't win now, we're never going to win, bro. We got to give it some time. That's my thought.
All right, so Kale is team stability from what I've heard on that. So we got one for team stability. I'm keeping
And also
score
Will
down
Levis to
here.
return.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna discount Kale's opinion because he had that one. So let's go to Michael in Nashville who wants to talk Titans. Michael, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Great.
I'm for cleaning Top House. I think we should get rid of Will Levis and get rid of the coach if he comes in with the same thing he did this year, 3 wins. I think whoever's in charge of drafting and coaching players, I never hear nobody say first round draft pick, we coached him up. I never hear that. It's always we get players 4 and 5 years already in the league. So I could say clean house.
So you want to fire the quarterback, the GM, and the head coach?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, got you down, Michael. We're keeping score. I got one for team stability, one for clean house. We're going to go to James in Chattanooga who wants to answer the question. James, which one are you?
I'm on the team of let's hire Deion Sanders and draft Shedeur.
Now, does that mean that you keep Rand Carthon? Does that mean you keep Rand Carthon?
Make him an assistant. Give Deion the whole reign. Let him run. Let him cook. It'd be a splash hire.
Oh man! So you want Deion as head coach, de facto GM, with Rand Carthon demoted and Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's fantasy land, but yeah, no,
yeah, it's fantasy land.
If not, then keep Brian Callahan.
That gotcha. So. But I get what you're saying. But hey, listen, if you're going to fire Brian Callahan, I'm all for it. And thanks for your call. I'm all for at least do something exciting, I guess, with it.
Boy, it would get people riled up.
It would get people riled up if Deion Sanders was still here.
Until he couldn't win, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got more people calling in. We got a few phone lines up. We're asking right now, team stability, clean house, or fire one of them. We're going to go to Ryan in Hendersonville who wants to weigh in. Ryan, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, Blaine. Hey, Zach. How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Good. Blaine, chirp, chirp. All-State Cardinal here.
Yeah,
but you gotta stick with stability. Give this coaching staff 3 years. This is bottom of the barrel right now. They get 5 to 6 wins next year, and by the following year, AFC is a winnable division. The AFC South. Right now, for getting to the Super Bowl, you got Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jackson. There's no good future for the first these upcoming 2 years. There's just no hindsight. So you're behind those guys. You're not going to get to the Super Bowl. So stick with it. Let the plan run its course. In draft, you got to build through the draft. So.
All right. That's another one for team stability. We got 2 for stability, 1 for clean house, 1 for fire one. Are we both team stability?
No, what are you?
Okay. Well, I think I'm team stability.
Oh, yeah, I am.
I'm going to add our votes down there. Sammy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, Sammy's on the phone. Let's go to Josh, and I think he's wanting to put in for team stability. Josh, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys. Blaine, you brought a lot of joy to my life over the years. I just wanted to say thanks, man.
Well, thank you.
I'm definitely team stability with some caveats.
Okay.
And first question, would you guys say that the Titans are an organization who've never developed a quarterback? Would you say that, or would you not say that?
I never, no. Done it often? No, they have not. That's how I would put it.
Maybe the question is, who have they developed?
I mean, McNair, right?
Would they develop McNair? Would you say they developed McNair?
I would say they did. I mean, Blaine, when you put it on that. And I would say that they developed Marcus, but Marcus also, I think his bigger issue was more injury-prone than talent issue.
Yeah, those are the only 2 on the list for me.
Which is not a great list, by the way.
Well, with respect, I would say they broke Marcus. If you look at the number of offenses that they put him through, I mean, how many OCs did he have in his first 3 years?
I think 3.
Yeah, 3, technically, yeah.
How many did he have in his first 4 years? I mean, my question is, first, is organizationally, are we really an organization who develops quarterbacks? I would say we're probably not. So let's be real. Let's look in the mirror here and be honest with ourselves about that. So is it wise for us to take a quarterback who really needs a lot of development? I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. And it would, there's a business term called opportunity cost. You guys are familiar with it. And the cost of Will Levis was not the third and the second that it took to get him. The opportunity cost was we got in this terrible spiral. 23 was not necessarily in our position. We took a bad quarterback. So in 24, we missed out on a great crop of quarterbacks. Well, guess what? We're back in the same position. 25, that's not a great crop of quarterbacks, but 26 is. So if we continue the cycle, the opportunity cost is not the draft pick. It's putting ourselves in a position where we're going to need a quarterback again, and we're not going to be able to draft a good one. So so that's what I'd say. I have team stability, but we got to look at the opportunity cost. If we draft either one of these quarterbacks, we're probably not going to be successful in developing them next year, and then we're going to miss out in 26. Well, it's a pretty good crop of quarterbacks. Thoughts?
Well, we'll get to those thoughts after the break. So we'll go to the break. We're going to get to Mark, Steve, Justin, Zach, and Mark, and then we're also going to touch on Josh's question about developing a quarterback and whether this franchise can do it or not. We'll talk about that after the break. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
What's happening? It's Ron Slade, known as Big Slade, all the things, man. Nashville, born and bred, right here on 3HL 104.5 The Zone. Listen, man, you're thinking about advertising with us with digital, radio, whatever it may be, all of the above under the umbrella. Get with us. Let me do it. I promise you. I'll get it sold for you. You nobody welcome me. Look at the smile. Look at that. You see what I'm saying? 1045thezone.com/epic. Go to that. Get involved. Let's make a joint. party. Let's do a lot of little things like let's hold hands, run down the street, celebrate, all this little stuff. You know what it is. Let's go.
What's up? Will Bowling here, 104.5 The Zone, coming to you on Zone TV. Hey, 104.5 The Zone has got a big sale going on, 1045thezone.com/epic. Whether it's radio, digital, we have got ad solutions that work for you. Harness the power of The Zone and Zone TV by getting involved. That's 1045thezone.com/epic. We got big deals going on right for you.
Hey, it's Zach Lyons here of 1045 The Zone, and as the resident sports analytics nerd, I know data, and the numbers tell me that the dual power of radio and digital on 1045 has always delivered for local advertisers. Now's your chance to book your 2025 marketing campaign early with special savings and incentives. Reach out today to your local ad representative or go to 1045thezone.com/epic. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. And we're asking the question, are you team stability, team clean house, or team just fire one or the other? Not both. And so we're going to continue taking your phone calls because the phones are lighting up. Everybody, I knew this.
We were team stability.
We're team stability. Yeah. So far, team stability has a commanding lead. I'm going to put Josh's stability with an asterisk to the side for now. So we're 4 for stability, clean house 1, fire 1, and that was to hire Deion Sanders. And then you're going to put no. And then we got Josh with team stability with an asterisk. But I do want to touch on what he asked. He said he just doesn't think this is a franchise that can develop quarterbacks. I think you can't put the regime, you can't do the sins of the father, sins of the past on every regime. Every regime is different. Not every regime that has came through has had a quarterback to develop per se. But I would say that the trend is that there have been very few and far between quarterbacks that this team has actually developed. I would say that Marcus...
Through their history, yeah.
Throughout their history. Yeah. Because, Warren Moon, they technically didn't develop Warren Moon.
No, they got him from the CFL.
Right. So McNair...
may be really the only one that's a clear-cut...
Clear-cut is McNair.
And now, guess what they did, though? They set him for 2 or 3 years. Now, different time, I get it and all that, but at the same time, they need to sit a little bit maybe in that first year, even if it's just the first 6 to 8 games, and then you kind of slowly ease them in so they can see how the game is actually done in the NFL. So, or maybe even sit a year. So, yeah, that was really weird. I was part of that whole process, and man, we had Chris Chandler, but that second year, you thought when Chris Chandler go down, they still wouldn't put him out there as the number 2. They would bring in other veteran quarterbacks and would not play him. Floyd Reese said, no, he is not ready yet. And boy, was he right. And then when he was ready, it was lights out. So, but you're not afforded that now with, I guess, probably the money that they're making, even though they're going high pick just like he was. But the number's so big, and the pressure to play a franchise quarterback initially is just, come from all angles, and everybody wants to see them play.
All right, here we go. Let's go back to the phones. We're going to go to Justin Thompson Station first, who wants to weigh in. Justin, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. All right. So I've got I'm team stability, but I got a twist. You ready?
When you got another asterisk here, okay. We're ready.
Yeah, so I'm team stability because I think we're still going to be bad no matter what. I don't think blowing it up is the right answer, right? So here's what I do: I trade back. I'm looking at the Raiders. I want their first round this year, next year, and Max Crosby. I'm going to find a veteran. I'm going to find a veteran quarterback in free agency. I don't particularly want Rodgers, but it's a possibility. I then go draft an offensive tackle left side. I move JC to the right. Now my offensive line is solidified. I've got the foundation. We're going to suck anyways, so go get Arch Manning in 26. And that's all I got.
Okay, that's pretty much not team stability with an asterisk. That's team stability. But I do, because I proposed that last night. I don't know if maybe he was listening or not. Justin was listening, but I proposed last night. It's like, again, let's say you're at number 2, and let's say someone trades with the Pats, trades up or whatever, but let's say you're number 1. Sure, you could take the quarterback, but man, sure would be nice if the Raiders, who Max Crosby has kind of alluded that he may not want to stick around, hey, you get a couple of first-round picks, maybe a little bit more, and Max Crosby, I'd be pretty tempted to take it. To be honest with you, because, this team needs pass rush because it has Harold Landry out there laying goose eggs on the field against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, he also brought in the left tackle, moved the left tackle to right tackle.
That's a whole other scenario that I disagree with, but,
Well, I like his premise. But is there any left tackles better than J.C. Latham in this draft? And I don't think so, based off what you've been telling me about the different guys. So I would say probably no can do in this draft. But if you brought in a veteran, trade for a veteran who is proven, and then you move them, I'm all in on that. So, yeah, there's some caveats to that. I like how he was thinking, though.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Simmons is a first-round talent, but he's injured from Ohio State. He's injured, and he may not be ready, and you can't spend you cannot afford to spend a draft pick on a guy that may not be ready, right?
What was his injury?
I believe it was Achilles.
Oh, no.
Don't quote me on that, but it was definitely either an Achilles or an ACL. Maybe someone in the chat can look that up while we go to the phones.
I would sign Sammy before that.
We're gonna go not to me, but to another Zach in White House who wants to talk about the question at hand.
You calling
Zach? Who you got?
What's up, guys? I'm team stability. I don't think we have a terrible roster, personally. There's no reason to blow up the GM or the coach just yet, because if you think about it, the first two games, like the Chicago game, we had that in the bag. That Will Levis fumbled that whole game. And those couple games at the beginning of the season hurts the man's confidence. And if you should know, Blaine, playing on the field, if you don't have confidence, you don't need to be out there. So that I just think Will Levis is done. Maybe a veteran quarterback to slide in and just keep building other pieces in the draft. But I don't know if we should get a quarterback this high in the draft. Sam Darnold doesn't look bad, but will he continue that success somewhere else? Because the Vikings have a really good roster as well.
Yeah.
But that's about all I got.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's some good stuff. I mean, I'm not surprised his name was Zach. Like, I mean, of course we were going to get a good phone call from a guy named Zach.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean,
you smart Zach guys, man.
Like, I mean, just how it rolls, I guess, Let's go to Mark in Murfreesboro who wants to talk about the question at hand. Mark, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, gentlemen. This is a stable transition with a better quarterback. I would say not draft first, but this is my take. Look, let Amy cook, give him Rand the free will, right? She gave him free will to really do what he wanted to do. Let Rand cook, drafting playmakers, which he did, and you can't really say he had any bust other than the right tackle who keep getting hurt. Then I say let Aaron Rodgers cook.
Oh, bud. You were doing so good, Mark.
No. The reason why I say this is because he can have a connection with Brian. Brian coached Peyton Manning, or was there with Peyton Manning. If he had another veteran who he could tailor the offense around, which that's what he's good at, but he couldn't do it with Will Levis. And, Mason is a backup. So if he had a veteran like Aaron Rodgers who he could tailor his game around, and then also draft Shador and let him learn from a veteran like Aaron Rodgers. If you said who's the top 10 quarterbacks alive, who you want a quarterback, your future quarterback to learn from, I bet Aaron Rodgers will be in that top 5.
Oh man, that's a lot to unpack there, Mark. Here's the thing, and we'll get to everybody that's still on the line after this, because there's Bradley, Luther, Gene, Daryl, and more calling in 615-737-1045.
Dylan.
But if you're if you're a coach that's already on the hot seat, or a regime that's on the hot seat, like we both say that they are. The last person you want to bring in is Aaron Rodgers. Because first off, he's looking pretty washed. But second off, he has a platform every week on the Pat McAfee show where he has a chance to throw you under the bus and get you fired and make you sound and look stupid. That is the last thing you need as a coach like this that's set up in this regime. And let me say, that's the last person you want mentoring anybody in the NFL. Like, he has gone completely off the rails. He's not, like, if this was the Aaron Rodgers from, 2006, 7, 8, 9, those years, then yeah, maybe you get that guy. But this guy didn't even want to, mentor Jordan Love. He didn't want to mentor the young receivers that they all drafted. Like, this guy does not want to mentor. Now, he can come out and say that he does, but I don't believe him.
He's a crybaby. I wish I had the crybaby hotkey on here right now.
I know. I'm right there with you, Sammy, on this one. And Zach, I mean, he has shown no signs of mentoring anybody. I mean, if we've gotten Aaron Rodgers that was at least 5 years ago, Maybe so, because his talent would outweigh what he brings into the locker room. I wouldn't even want him in the locker room. I love his talent when he was really good, and you look past all of that. Now his talent is not there. It's time to move on.
I mean, you got Garrett Wilson wanting to leave the Jets because he's like pretty much saying it's either me or Aaron Rodgers. And if they choose Aaron Rodgers over at the Jets, they are way worse off than I thought they were. But like this, you don't want that guy on the radio or on Pat McAfee on ESPN telling everybody how bad you suck, even if you don't, and it's his fault. Because he's never going to take accountability. That guy will never take accountability that the team maybe sucks because he himself is washed. We'll get to your phone calls when we come back. We got Dylan, Gene, Luther, Bradley, Darryl. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. And, I forgot to actually bring it up, but here are the reports coming out about the Houston Texans sitting starters, okay? So the first tweet I saw was from Cody Stutes, who was talking about what was said at the press conference. And he said that essentially D'Amico Ryans said they need to play better, but that the Texans would be smart about their approach to the playoffs, saying there was a balance between being healthy and being in a rhythm. So he's not shutting the door, but not really saying anything. Then I guess later on in the press conference, this comes from DJ BN Amy, who covers the Texans. D'Amico Ryans said that everybody has to be ready to go, and that's where we are. Everyone will be out there playing. Now, for how long, if you take those two things, for how long remains to be the issue. But we know this about the Tennessee Titans. If the Texans play their starters the first half and they get up, the Tennessee Titans are going to come back and win that game. So, but they're pretty much, we don't know how much rest they're going to get.
Backups, baby.
Yeah. And listen, Tennessee Titans would probably rather see C.J. Stroud on the road than Davis Mills because Tennessee Titans have a hard time with backup quarterbacks.
No, and David Mills, he's always represented here. I think he's going to play him for a half, depending on how they play. If they play in the second half, and then he may start pulling different guys at certain times. I think he understands that rhythm, flow, and being in the right spot. When I say that, it means the team, which they are not. They have not played very well. So I think he's saying, hey, no, we're all playing. So you better be ready to play. Now, how much I'm going to play you, it depends on how much, how well we look. I mean, he's not he's a former player. He understands having some rest in between time. But, man, he also knows the hot team going into the playoffs is always the one who has success.
And they have not played very well. And that's what I said yesterday. Everybody's like, well, the Texans are probably going to rest their stars. I was like, I don't know.
So Vegas must know something we don't know because they say the Titans are favored by 4.
I wonder if it's shifted. We'll check. We're going to take a phone call real quick, and I'll check to see if it's shifted. Let's go to Bradley in Nashville who wants to answer the question. Bradley, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Okay, so real quick, I wanted to talk about, stability. I think the Titans have something stable there. As bad as it looked this year, there can be a plan there. So let's just say if Titans have the number 1 overall pick, I say bring Shador in a visit, official visit, all that. Like, make sure – can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, make sure he comes in, make it appetizing. And then the week of the draft, you trade for Kyler Murray. You give them a 3, which is pretty much a second-round pick, a 5 this year, and and swap 5s next year. Then you go ahead and sign T. Higgins, and then trade your number 1 pick for Max Crosby and 2 first-round picks, and then using that pick in the first round to draft a tackle and then figure out the rest of your needs. But that's pretty much it. I just want to, if it does happen, put it in you guys' ear. God bless.
Okay, hey, real quick, if you're still, did he say trade for Kyler Murray? Is that what I heard?
That's what I thought I heard him say, and that's when I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Kyler Murray does not fit this offense. I like, but we're putting him down for team stability, but I don't know about that one. Just so you know, the line has shifted. It was 4.5 to the start yesterday and the start of the day in the Titans-Texans game. 4.5 in favor of the Titans. Now it's 1.5 in favor of the Titans.
See, they heard what he said.
They heard what he said.
And we all know you get 3 points to play at home. At least my amateur novice knowledge of gambling.
Vegas quickly corrected. So you should have taken, first off, everybody should have taken the Texans at plus 4.5. But you also should probably go ahead and take Texas money line as well. Let's go to Luther in Nashville, who wants to ask about the offensive coordinator hire. Luther, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Offensive coordinator hire.
Well, guys, here's a question for you.
Okay.
If Callahan and the staff had to do it over again, look at what Tampa's got with Baker Mayfield at quarterback right now. Do you think maybe, this is just a thought, they could have backtracked and maybe hired Liam Cohen that pretty much got everything out of Levis? Maybe he might be more comfortable and we actually may be in a better position, maybe? Just a thought.
I mean, I think that's a good question. I think that Brian Callahan would have had to give up play calling duties.
Which he never got to do until now.
Right. So I don't think he would have done that, but I do think that maybe Liam Cohen would have left very little doubt whether Will Levis was the guy or not, right? Because if he couldn't do it with his best college coach, he couldn't do it anywhere.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it will be interesting to see if Liam Cohen, because the backup quarterback situation in Tampa Bay is pretty bad. We know that likely Will Levis's agent.
Is Trask still there?
Yeah.
Oh, he hadn't.
No, he's bad. Oh. And he's probably worse than Mason Rudolph, if that tells you anything. Will Levis would be an upgrade over Kyle Trask. Let me tell you that. So if you're the Buccaneers, if we don't hear a rumor that the Buccaneers are interested in maybe trading for, Will Levis, that may tell you kind of what Liam Cohen really thinks about Will Levis.
Well, he may not have the clout and the push to get it something like that done unless it's a later round pick. But yeah,
you at least should see that connection pop up, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to Gene in Lebanon who wants to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Gene, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey guys, I want some stability, but I just hope they can do their draft right. To me, I hope if they retain the number 1 or number 2 draft position, maybe trade down and get some extra draft capital and draft the best available either right tackle or edge rusher in the first round, and then maybe get a quarterback like Dart from Ole Miss. I think he might be a diamond in the rough, kind of like a Russell Wilson later round draft pick. He's a good quarterback, and I think he could be good for training, sitting on the bench while we get maybe a bridge quarterback, like we said earlier, Derek Carr, and let him bring him in, because I think did you say his contract was up? He's a free agent, and get some extra draft capital to close other positions too, maybe an extra second or third rounder if we trade down like that.
Hey, he's team stability. Thanks, Gene. Gene's on team stability. 615-737-1045. You want to get on the conversation. I do think he brings up a good point. Something that we kind of talked about is that if you decide that you go through the process, because you got to have conviction. You don't just draft a quarterback to draft a quarterback. And that's why I say they should sign a vet, because that also gives you the flexibility that if you don't fall in love with one of these quarterback prospects that high, you have a plan. Because it's a crapshoot about what everybody else thinks about this quarterback class when you get in those 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is likely going to be a quarterback that you could be like, okay, well, he's maybe worth the 4th or 5th round pick to maybe sit behind a vet quarterback and maybe see if he can get, the system down pat. And maybe he can be that kind of like Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson kind of guy where you found him late in the draft in the middle of rounds and he turns into a guy that can, win you some games. And we hear stories about that all the time. We see it happen all the time. You don't have to be first round picks. It's a greater path to success. But it's all about conviction. I know everybody is team Shadur or team Cam Ward if they're in these top 2 picks, but they may not be. And that's a real possibility in trading back and getting an edge rusher. I'm all aboard. That. I'm all aboard whatever they have conviction in. You got to have conviction when drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just don't know at this point in time where they are situated.
Right.
And with the coaching staffs, really jobs going to be on the line going into the season.
Don't really know who's the coaching staff's going to be, too.
Well, I'm assuming it's going to be the same coaching staff. So I just, man, I would go to safe play if I'm sitting in their shoes, and I would be veteran and then maybe trade out of the pick if you can get someone and pick up more picks. I don't know what that really means and as far as what you can get in value and everything else. But, man, that sounds like the safer play because you need to win now. And when I say win now, that means you have to be competitive and you got to be at least somewhere in the 7, 8, 9 win range. And a veteran quarterback can do that. Now, who is that veteran quarterback and all that? I have no idea. But that seems like their safer play if my job is on the line. Now, if you want to draft a quarterback and you're 1 or 2 and you go after that quarterback, the pressure to play that quarterback, even if you do still get a veteran, is going to be there regardless. And it may not buy you time and it may not save your job. So I just, man, this one here is a tough call to make if you're sitting in his shoes. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they start having these discussions about what direction to go, because you could be right and you also can be wrong. It's just a matter of what player fits the system, whether it's a veteran player or a young quarterback? And are you going to be patient enough to wait for that quarterback to play? Or are you going to throw them out in the fire?
That's not just them.
Right.
Is the owner going to be patient enough too?
Right. Yeah.
That's the big. That's the big mystery, right?
Yes.
What is Amy Adams Strunk thinking? That is the big mystery.
It's tough when that guy's sitting on the bench. You say, "Hey, man, we'll go on and throw him out there."
Yep. All right, let's go. Dylan, who wants to weigh in on this question? Dylan, are you team stability, clean house, or fire one?
Hey man, I'm Team Kyler Murray. I tell you what, baby, like that call threw me so off.
Oh, I thought you almost got me on that one.
What's going on with this Kyler Murray talk?
Man, do you know him personally?
hey, you could do worse, but that cracked me up. So I'm going to be team. Tear it down. The way that the organization is set up structurally right now, I think Chad is president of football operations, ran as the GM, and I know that Amy wants the whole collaboration thing, but I feel like for this to have a successful structure of a franchise, there has to be like a chain of command. And right now, it just does not make sense. And I don't care who it is. It could be Rand. It could be Chad. Just let me know who's in charge and who's making the decisions. But because there's no faith. It's a faithless organization. They send Brian Callahan out here to talk to the press and also he can go to I'm sorry, he's a nice guy. But it's the NFL, and it's a terrible record. I'm from Nashville. I want this team to be good so freaking bad. I want this team to be good so bad. But I just think the way it's set up now, it's just a failing organization.
So let me ask you this, Dylan, if you don't mind. If you fire everybody, do you yourself, and you may not, it's okay. Do you have some names in mind that you would like to see be trotted out as maybe GM? Do you have anybody as head coach that you would like to see? And you can't say Ben Johnson. You have to give me another name than Ben Johnson.
I don't. I mean, I haven't thought that much, but I mean, and it's a weird thing. GMs don't get retread very much, but I'm sure there's a qualified GM out there somewhere that can do it. And hell, I mean, Rand or Chad could be fine, but I just want to know who's in charge, who's making the decisions, because the structure it doesn't make any sense. Amy's just like her dad, she could fire him tomorrow, and we just don't know, but. Anyway, guys.
Dylan, would you be okay with Blaine head coach, me GM?
And then you could fire me. Oh, no.
I'd put it in the contract that someone else would have authority to do that.
Yeah. Hey, dude, let's do. Hey, throw it to the wall and see if it sticks. I'm up for anything. But hey, Blaine's a legend, man.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
I'm in. All right, Dylan. Thanks for your call.
Coach is a tough job.
Okay, so we got two for clean house now.
Oh my.
So we're gonna go to Daryl in Nashville, who wants to weigh in. Daryl, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, I wouldn't clean house. I would be patient. First of all, we shouldn't mess up that either number 1 pick or the number 2 pick. We shouldn't mess that up at all. I think we should get Travis Hunter if he's available. Mm-hmm. If he's not available, get an offensive tackle. Other than that, I wouldn't mess up none of the draft picks. I wouldn't fire nobody. If they start losing, it depends on how many games they win next year. But if it's worse than next year, it's time for somebody to go. But I'd say sustain what we got, learn from what we just learn from what this season turned out and how it turned out. And that's all I really got to say about that.
All right, another one for team stability. I mean, I'd have to say, I'm a little surprised that team stability's running away with it.
Running away, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, running away with it. I thought it'd be a little bit closer. I figured we'd have a little bit more clean house. But we'll just keep on rolling through the phones because, I think it's so interesting to hear everybody's take. And I think it's also good to hear that there are some fans that are for stability, that understand the process and all that kind of stuff. And listen, not to say doesn't, I think even Daryl put it, he's like, I don't know if they start losing again, then you kind of have your answer. And it's kind of like Will Levis, right? Like you kind of have your answer on Will Levis. And maybe it turns out to be a situation where they start out just like the Detroit Lions or other teams, 1-5 or 2-4, and maybe they go on a win streak. But at the end of the day, results matter, and the results are going to matter a lot if this team stays, if this staff and front office stays intact largely in the areas that matter. Let's go to Steve in Nashville, who wants to talk about Sanders and Ward. So we're going to go to Steve. You're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Neither's a quality. Neither's going to take you to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here's the thing about Callahan: the more things change, the more they've stayed the same. There hadn't been a damn thing changed with that play calling, and there hadn't been anything that changed with the results.
Mm-hmm.
I'm firing him. I'm sorry. It's either he's too stubborn to realize it or what have you, but it ain't gonna work out. Get rid of him now, because the other comment I don't like is it's not. He said this the other day, and I thought, well, you know what? Your job is to coach what's in front of you. Your job is not to go, well, I just can't coach him. I don't know what was said in the room. I'm assuming that. But he hadn't done anything with Levis. He's actually regressed. So I get rid of him. Keep Rand. Keep what you have there. I think you look at the draft right now. If you're sitting in number 2 and you do have a chance to get Travis Hunter, that's the only, in my opinion, everybody's got an opinion, sure thing in the draft. Other than that, you trade out of it and you do what Houston did the last couple of years and you load up picks. Because there's nobody going to stand behind that line right now. That's another thing, too. Dad probably needs to go with his son because that line hasn't improved either, and it's just mishmash of people. If you can't figure out who your daggum right tackle is, you have a problem.
So, Steve, let me ask you a question. Yeah. Do you have a coach on the radar that you would want to replace Callahan with? And you cannot say Ben Johnson.
I wouldn't say Ben Johnson.
All right.
Bobby Slovic would be one I'd go talk to.
Ooh, you're opening up a can of worms there, Steve. They want him fired.
You asked me a question.
I know. I'm just saying.
Why is that a can of worms, though?
Because, they want him fired in Houston.
That's fine. That's called, I have tape on C.J. Stroud now. It might be easier to go get him.
All right.
But I think offensively minded, I don't have a single problem with him.
Gotcha.
I would prefer someone with head coaching experience. I don't know who's out there right now. I really haven't stopped and looked at it.
That's okay. I just was asking, just curious,
No. I throw it right back to you.
Yeah.
Everybody wants somebody fired. We're talking about it now.
I know.
Do you want him fired?
No, I personally do not. But I know this. Bobby Slowick, went through the interview processes last year, and there were some less than stellar reviews about his interviewing, and there's some rumblings from people in Houston that the players do not respect him very well. So, that's rumors, but
Okay, look what you have with Callahan right now. You got the same damn thing right now. I throw it right back to you.
Yeah.
So I think Mike McDaniel, that's an interesting one down there in New Orleans. I'm sorry, in Miami right now.
I like you ain't going to hear me complain about Mike McDaniel. I think me and him would get along great if I could ever meet him.
I just think someone has to have experience that gets his coaching job.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey,
see ya.
See ya. We put Steve here on Fire One because he's keeping Ren Carthon. Mm-hmm. So I probably should have asked him more about that. But hey, put him on the list. Fire One. We got him, Steve. And then we're going to go to Johnny in Nashville who wants to talk about Cam Ward. Johnny, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey there. Excuse me. So I'm team stability as well because I think even with the high draft pick we've got this year going to have, what are you guys' opinions on the top 2 quarterbacks? I don't care for either one of them, and I especially want to hear Blaine's opinion of Cam Ward's, his performance, quote unquote, this weekend, playing half and then bailing on his team, what it looked like to me, and watched him lose. I'd love to hear Blaine's opinion of that, and then I'll hang up and listen.
That's interesting. I forgot to even ask you about that. And do you know the Cam Ward situation that he's referring to in the Pop-Tart Bowl?
Yeah, that he only played a half. I didn't watch him play, but I think did he play a half or did
he played a half? And then we don't know whether unless something came out while we were on the show, we don't know whether he benched himself or it was a mutual, discussion between him and the coach and all that kind of stuff. So
he could break
the coach
record, right?
had a chance to say so, and he didn't say so. But then the team lost. And I thought, because they got the ball back with like 30-something seconds, maybe 40 seconds left. And I was like, okay, well, Cam Ward's kind of warming up. Maybe he's going to go back in there and do a legacy drive to win the game. Because, they have 0 ranked wins, and then all of his teammates have been playing the entire game. And then they lose because their backup quarterback couldn't get it done. where do you fall on that whole? I don't think the NFL really cares, but maybe I'm being, too, I guess uncaring about it.
Right. No, I think there's two school of thoughts. I mean, naturally, us old school guys who say, hey, man, if you're going to dress, then you got to play. And then most guys who are going to be that high of a pick, especially the first pick versus second pick, is that they normally don't play because there's nothing at stake. They're playing in a bowl game when they're not winning the playoffs. It's the fact that he really only played to get, I think it was a touchdown record or some form of a record. In this day and age, I think it's a little different now. I don't know if I really too much care or not because, now the guys are getting paid so much money and then he just wanted to play to get the record. So I thought it was a little let down on his teammates to go there. Did the game change after he got out of there and then the other quarterback played? So, a lot of guys want to go out.
It was pretty close all game for the most part.
Right,
but
they were going back and forth a little bit based off of the scores I was watching. So that's a tough one, man, to start and then just say, not unless everybody on the team knew and it was going into the game that this is what it seems like the coach, they had a conversation, but it wasn't as clear as it was. Maybe he just didn't say anything because they lost. But, man, that was a confusing one for me. I had never seen anybody actually do that at this point in time.
We've seen people retire mid game. Was that was the guy in Indianapolis or Buffalo?
Davis,
that did that?
The cornerback.
Vontae Davis.
Yeah, so I would have preferred that he didn't play at all and just let the other guy play. As bad as that sounds, he probably felt like he needed to do it for his team, but he also was doing it for himself.
He broke it for that record.
Right. He wanted to do it for himself. So I don't know if I would get mad at, you can't blame these guys at this point.
Just a new era that we're going to have to kind of
try to have to embrace it. But I don't know if I really have such a big issue as I would have back, years ago. I probably would have years ago, but nobody was doing that then. Nobody was even playing in games.
Right.
They were playing in the games and wouldn't sit out. I don't blame them for sitting out because you're risking a lot. I've seen some guys get injured and then all of a sudden it hurt their draft stock, and that's a lot of money.
And like Saquon Barkley, what does he do? Does he sit or does he get the all-time rushing record against his former team?
Just for that, yes, you got to play.
You got to. I'm with you. I would have to play. I would have to do it. To do it against the Giants, break the all-time record would be awesome.
How much does he have to get?
101 yards, I believe.
Oh, yes.
When we come back, we'll finish up your all's phone calls. 615-737-1045. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. We were talking before the break. I asked Blaine if he finished watching the entire game, if he watched the entire game of the Atlanta Falcons, Washington Commanders last night, and how they started trading body blows. And I'm watching these quarterbacks go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, making these throws. And I'm just like, I have quarterback envy. Like, I wish we had a quarterback like that.
Wow. Yeah.
Just a young quarterback, too. Like, two rookies going back and forth, and it's just insane. And they were just, like I said, body blows back and forth. The Jaden Daniels, it's just got ice cold water running through his veins.
What was your reports on those two guys coming out?
So my big harp on Jaden Daniels was I was more worried about his frame than anything else. Mm-hmm. And with Michael Penix Jr., was the same thing, but he had his history. He had an injury history. Daniels had been pretty, available most of his career, so that was kind of like
was the best thrower in the draft. It's just a natural. When I say that, I'm talking about it was more natural to him to be a thrower. When you watched him at Washington really coming to his own, it was pinpoint accurate. So I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised like how sustainable it's been, especially Jaden Daniels, because Penix is just now getting out there. But the sustainability and the durability of Daniels has been impressive. He has some nicks, and he's fought through those. But man, he's been very impressive.
That's what you want right there. Let's go to Luke in Hendersonville, who wants to talk about stability in the draft. Luke, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a combo out there, but for the record, I think they gotta stick it out and go one more year and see if they can get this thing back on track, because there were just a lot of things I think out of their control with all these injuries and everything. And I think they were hyped up like we were because they thought they put together a really good roster, but all the injuries and everything. Anyway, but what if this is one of those things that it's so crazy it might work? Cliff Kingsbury with Shador. I'm going to hang up and listen and just see what y'all think. See you guys.
Cliff Kingsbury as the OC, or
I guess probably as head coach. If he says for the record he was team stability, so I assume that if they fired Brian Callahan, why don't you bring in Cliff Kingsbury with Shador Sanders? I'm in. I'd be okay with that. What about you?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm going down the road of you saying new head coach. That's not stability. So he's saying a new OC. That's what I'm.
Well, I think he was at two. That's two different questions. He's saying for the record I'm team stability, then tossed us a hypothetical.
Oh, no, I'm not. No.
No Cliff Kingsbury. No, you don't care about the Jaden Daniels. You're not buying the Jaden Daniels.
No, that's thing? What happens. It's Jaden Daniels.
Okay,
it's Jaden Daniels. It's not Cliff. We saw enough, and do you think
he could do that same magic with Shador Sanders, or are you just like, probably not?
No, I don't. First of all, they're two different skill sets, and their arms are somewhat similar when you talk about they can throw the ball, but Jaden Daniels can run the football. So he brings another caveat to trouble to defenses. Shador runs. He's a pocket guy. He can maneuver in the pocket, and he can run, but he is not a runner. So there's two different offenses. To me, he's not the fit for Cliff Kingsbury.
Let's go to P. Nectar, who in Nashville, who wants to talk about the Titans draft. P. Nectar, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Blaine and Zach, what it dooski? It's P. Maxter, the hottest in the game.
All right.
What it do, y'all all right?
What's going on, Green Hills?
Yes, sir. Man, I was trying to tell y'all, man, I'm trying to get a message to Will Levis. Man, just tell him to change his jersey back to number 7 and lock in. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he'll do that.
He the white Vic, you know what I'm saying? He got the bar too high for Lamar, The 8 is too much. You got to go and get that 7 back going, man.
There you go.
Man.
There you go.
Is somebody wearing 7?
No, it was Malik Willis had 8, and then they traded him, and then I guess he switched to 8. Am I getting my math there right? No, he's always been 8. Malik Willis had 7.
Oh.
There. I think that's what it was. Let's go to Ethan in Mount Juliet. Ethan, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Be a superpower.
Ethan, you there?
Mount Juliet.
All right. Sorry about that, Ethan. Maybe we'll catch you tomorrow. Let's go to Patrick in Green Hills. Patrick, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
I'm in two boats. I want to do stability, and I'm okay with drafting Shador. Look what he did behind that offensive line that he had in Colorado, and he stuck it out. in the entire game, even though they were getting beat down pretty badly. That shows a good character of judgment there. And if we're going to bring in somebody as an OC, why not bring in Eric Bellamy? He was just let go by UCLA. We know he can do wonders. He's the only guy that's kind of got history of developing a little bit of a younger quarterback. We saw what he did with Patrick.
So are you team stability?
I am team stability.
But you want a new OC.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think Brian Callahan needs to focus on just being the head coach and relieve his play calling duties, collaborate with another good offensive coordinator, and show that he can right the ship and put the best foot forward. I just think he was dealt a bad hand from the beginning.
Gotcha,
give him time, give him and Ransom time.
All right, cool. Thanks, Patrick, for the call.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't necessarily rule that out, right? In a season where you have like this, if you're going to keep them, maybe you have to keep them, but you have to give something up. And maybe that is play calling. And do you want that to go to Nick Holtz? I don't know. But Eric Bieniemy, is a guy that has a proven track record in the NFL as a offensive coordinator. But his best years came with Patrick Mahomes. He was all right with Sam Howell in Washington for that short stint there, but he kind of wore out his welcome over there as well. So I'm not sure I'm bought in on the Eric Bieniemy kind of deal, but I wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out until I had a conversation with Andy Reid.
Yeah.
That's how much I value his word and what he thinks of Eric Bieniemy, not only as a play caller, but also, as a person. So I'm going to make sure I'm crossing T's on that, being that Andy Reid, if he vouched for him, then I would definitely consider it.
For sure. I think that's how you got to look at it. So, final tally, team stability 13, clean house 2, fire 1-2, and then we have 1 asterisk, the stability with the asterisk. So I'm actually pretty surprised, to be honest with you. But maybe it's just because we have the smartest listeners in all of sports radio. All across America, all across the world, the best listeners.
That's what Sammy said.
Yeah.
She was answering the calls, too.
Totally.
Yeah. And also, let's
said that, Sammy.
And let's not forget, we did the best caller today was named Zach, and I think that's very important to reemphasize yet again that may be the best name in America. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. In the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.
Sammy said.